God had wanted me to work in a very high-end school. Matter of fact, Apple was doing a partnership with the school I probably would have been at. There had been an interesting dynamic happen at the school. The first population of people were upwardly mobile, mostly white. And then some minorities moved in. And they had moved in from LA trying to get their kids away from gangs. But of course, in the process, they brought gangs with them, and that made an interesting dynamic going on. I felt it very satisfying to work with the minority population. So I disobeyed God. It would have been so much better for my own kids had I listened to God and been on the cutting edge of technology. And then this time in history, I'd be really poised right for what's going on. Whereas now I am so tech unsavvy that, it's pathetic. So now I'm playing catch up. There was another lady and we started it together. We were supposed to be teammates. So we both end up here together, and she's very by the rules, and I'm very laid back and, doing things from my heart. Well, one day in my class, I read a story that was sad, and I hadn't read it ahead of time. So I'm reading it as I'm teaching the class for the first time. And it made me cry. It was a real touching story, and I'm just reading it for the first time, and I'm like, oh, wow, it was very touching, so I cried. These are alternative high school kids. So half of them are looking at me like, are you for real? I mean, nobody would be crying over that. And then the other half of the kids are like, that's lame. And then there were some that were like, they were really moved, that it moved me. But there were only a couple that were showing me that. So one of them was this tall kid. He was about, 6'3", 6'4". I'm a white middle-class lady. He's a black hood kid. And he tells me how his music moves him the way that poem moved me, and that he couldn't really get behind the poem, but it meant a lot to him that I could. And he said, so maybe you can understand how I feel about my music. He said, so after school today, can I come in and play you one of my tapes of my music? And I said, sure, come on by. He brings in his tape. It has, every foul word, and women are not faring well to me in the song. It was just gangster. I mean, there was nothing in this that I could relate to. I'm sitting there and tears start running down my cheeks because I looked at him and I said, Ali, I can't relate to anything that you've played for me. But the fact that you would bring it in and you would care what I thought just moves my heart so much that I can't tell you. He's sitting there. He's got tears going down his cheeks. And he's saying, you care. It just means so much to me that you're trying and you care. So we're both sitting there like, little kids, tears going down our cheeks. So we get up and he says, can I hug you? And I go, I guess, So he gives me the biggest hug and he says, tomorrow I'm going to go down to the junior college. I'm going to get my GED, and then I'm going to go on and get a degree in something, and I'm going to change my life. And he had come in, I didn't say that at the beginning of this, that he had come in telling me that life in the hood was what he was aspiring to, and that he thought he would just live hard and live wild and die quickly, die young, and that was his goal. And then somehow in the middle of this, the switch flipped. And he was like saying to me, I'm going to do a whole new life. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to make something of myself. I'm going to go on because I can see now that I don't have to die young. I don't have to burn out. I don't have to do that. And, he's got tears in his eyes. He's crying as he's saying it. I'm standing there crying, looking at him. And it was such a moment between two of the most unlikely people on the planet that we would connect in the heartfelt way that we connected. I'm doing a small group for the church, and in it, I decide that I'm going to let... I had been in a small group, and sometimes they played music I like, and often they played music I didn't like. I did a worship group. We just worshiped God, and I had been picking out the songs, and I noticed that some people weren't that enthusiastic. They were maybe younger and had different musical tastes. So I said Next week, I was going to let everybody pick out a song. And I was thinking of the story with Ali that, I thought would, I told her next week I'm going to let people pick out their own songs. Everybody wants to be seen for who they are. Everybody wants to be loved for who they are. And you have to really see them and really care about them. Of course, the first time I was on my own, I let people pick out their songs. And I told the story to start out with about Ali before I did that. And everybody was very moved by the story. And I said, now when it's somebody's turn to share their song, I said, realize that's a piece of them. That's something that's so important to them that they're sharing it with us. And even if you can't get behind it, like I could not get behind Ali's music. I mean, there was no way I could get behind Ali's music. The fact that I was willing to listen and willing to honor him and honor his choice just broke down so many walls, so that with each other, we don't have to be all the same. I don't have to like the same songs you like, but I have to honor you and honor your choice when we do that song. Later on, the leader saw how everybody was picking their own song and saw how beautifully that worked in the group. That really was a powerful thing, and it really did bond people and brought us together and really made things happen because, everybody wants to be seen and loved for who they are. The music brought us together. Thanks for listening.